Hi folks, it's Mark Merrill with Firm with a special edition on Graham Platner again, darn it, and him pushing to get the vote out because June 9th is upon us. Welcome. Now, as you see here, this smaller paper in front of me, folks, says get the vote out or get out the vote. I wish he would get out himself, but that's another story all by itself. Now, why are we showing another picture here of a location in Greater Waterville? Well, because here's what this says here on Get Out the Vote, Graham Platner for US Senate, and it is from mobilize.us/Graham for Maine/event. So, what's going on? Well, he did recently appear in Bar Harbor. And we'll get to that video and audio in a few minutes. But Mr. Platner's organization, through this mobilize.us, said that there would be a time June 6th on Saturday, and again on Tuesday, June 9th, the day of the primary. But the one in this location right here, folks, as you see, 21 Corbett Lane in Winslow, was promoting a Get Out the Vote rally. So you could sign up and be there, get out the vote and canvass for Graham in the Greater Waterville area. With the primary election coming up quickly, it reads, this is our, meaning the Democrats, last chance to reach our supporters and make sure they have a plan to go vote for Graham. Bring a friend, wear some comfortable shoes, and get excited to make a difference. The event address is private on this printout from mobilize.us/Graham for Maine/event. Why? Because it says you have to sign up for more details. So we did. Then we went over to 21 Corbett Lane in Winslow just a few minutes before the time it was to start. And here's what happened, folks. Hi folks, Mark Merrill here with Firm, and we're on Corbett Lane here in Winslow, believe it or not, as we take a look around, and we were given these directions by the Platner campaign as to where there would be a rally. But it turns out this is a hoax, or it's a deterrent, as to somebody like myself who is part of the media. As you can tell, here we are, and here I am. This is 21 Corbett Lane, where they were talking about presently over here, and the only thing that we can see out on the property is that there are Graham Platner signs, a sign, and a sign for Bellows. Two cars on the highway, or parked out on Corbett Lane, shall we say, and other than that, two cars in the driveway. So there doesn't seem to be anything going on here, and we will certainly follow up on that. But we do have some more interesting things coming for you, ladies and gentlemen, from C-SPAN, one of the most reliable sources of political events that take place. And they caught him right in Bar Harbor, Maine, on June the 5th, talking about support from the Democrats from as far away as California, and had plenty of things to say, but we'll find out more when we resolve and research that video. It's about an hour long. Thanks for joining us here on Firm. We're here on Corbett Lane here in Winslow, Maine, across the bridge from Waterville, Maine. It's on his Graham Platner's website that there would be a rally here at 10 o'clock till 1 o'clock. Not the case, folks. So thanks for joining us here on Firm. Mark Merrill, as always. Stay safe. Peace to all. Hi folks, Mark Merrill here with Firm. Well, needless to say, folks, it was either a deterrent or a miscommunication or an attempt to get people to rally at the last minute, but giving this location, a residential location of 21 Corbett Lane in Winslow, was a farce. So we're going to move on quickly here, folks. Get to the real meat and potatoes of what happened in the last few days. Specifically on Friday, June 5th, as you heard me mention there, in Bar Harbor. And this rally was caught by C-SPAN, not just other legacy, local news media like News Center, Bangor Daily News, Portland Press Herald, 8, 7, possibly even PBS or MPBN if they still exist, thanks to the defunding of our president. But here comes that one, folks. It should open a lot of eyes here. See what you think of this rally. And also Mr. Platner getting a lot of support from out-of-staters, or people from away, as we used to say up here in the Northeast. More deflectocrats with large wallets and all kinds of other things in their pockets to make sure that Maine people try to unseat Susan Collins. So here comes that. Great video and audio, folks. Hope you take a listen.
Everything.
And while we're waiting for that to queue up, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that Mr. Platner has not lost his voice through all this, but in the meantime, just seems to get more and more direct at attacking the president, Donald Trump, and without mentioning her name that much, it's quite interesting, he puts her in the same category as to being blamed for the billions of dollars that are going against you, the Maine people, when it's the opposite way around. Here it comes, folks.
Thank you, Bar Harbor. God, it's always good being in Hancock County. So I had to hug my mom. That was great. The last time I was on the stage was when Steve Earle played here, back in the fall. And if you don't listen to Steve Earle songs, you should. You'll understand where I got my politics. First, it's such an honor to share this stage with Congressman Ro Khanna, with Troy Jackson, Matt Dunlap. Ro is one of the most powerful and clear voices of morality and decency that we have right now in the United States Congress. His taking on of the Epstein class, his taking head-on imperial foreign wars that do nothing for the working class of this country, it shows that he is someone who cares deeply about building a nation that actually represents the interests of all of us, and it's a true honor to share this stage with him. I don't really have to say it, but Troy Jackson has been fighting for working people his entire life. He has a long career in the state legislature and the state senate, fighting effectively for the working people of this state. That's why I ranked him number one. And then Matt Dunlap, whose experience, competence, and compassion working for the people of Maine in many different faculties is really incomparable. He has shown his dedication to the people of this district. He has shown this dedication to the people of this state, and we would be lucky to have him as a congressman. And last but not least, I always have to shout out Erin Oberson, the most fiery nurse in the state of Maine. Someday we're going to get her to run for something. So, until last summer, I truly thought that Harbor Master and Sullivan was going to be the extent of my political career. And then I made an absolutely ridiculous decision and decided to run for the United States Senate so we can take this seat back for working Mainers. And since the beginning, Maine, you had my back. When hurtful things I said on the internet a decade ago came out into the public, as I shared my personal journey through PTSD and darkness, of recovery and accountability and growth, Maine had my back. Now, as every single piece of that past and journey gets dug up, litigated, and weaponized, you have my back. And when politically motivated, serious and false accusations are made against me, Maine, you have my back. The state of Maine raised me, and the state of Maine saved me. And to all of you out there, Maine, I will always have your back. And we're going to need to have each other's backs because we are in the fight of our lives. The hard work that Mainers have done for generations, the hard scrabble seasonal work that people have done decade after decade, that we have been proud of, it's not enough anymore. When I was a kid, growing up in Sullivan, I remember guys who you could stern in the summer, plow in the winter, do some carpentry, do some wreaths, and that was enough. That was enough to live a small but decent life, enough to own your home, enough to send your kid to a decent school, enough to maybe even save a little bit for retirement. I knew clam diggers that put their kids through college. It's not enough anymore. You do that seasonal work, you're also taking on an extra shift at Home Depot or at Walmart. Or you're not fishing, because instead of being able to go out and make a living on the sea, you've got to take some shoreside job just so you can get health insurance for your family. That clam digger, that guy's kid's now taking on a lifetime of debt just to go to school. And that changed in my lifetime. I am 41. It has... I mean, some days. But in the time in my life where that hard work ceased being enough, we have also watched the largest transfer of wealth from the working class to the ruling class in the history of this nation. In 1990, there were fewer than 80 billionaires in the United States. Today, there are over 900. I ask you, when you look around, do you see a state of Maine that is 10 times wealthier than 1990? Do we have 10 times the schools? 10 times the hospitals? Do our paychecks go 10 times as far? Do we have 10 times the free time? No. In fact, we...
How about this from Firm, folks? The Democrats are the ones that are at fault here, not the billionaires. Let's be clear. This is not Donald Trump's fault. This is not Warren Buffett's fault. This is not Bill Gates' fault. Some, maybe. But the billionaires that are causing trouble, want to rip to shreds this flag you see behind me here, our constitutional rights, our freedoms that were founded by hardworking men he talks about, and slams billionaires as the reason why the state of Maine has gone into shambles, when it's really the Democrats who are the guilty party. We'll continue in just a moment, folks. But before we do, Mr. Platner is a piece of work. Not a good one either. This is why we have choices, ladies and gentlemen. Not just him. And we still don't know, ladies and gentlemen, before we let him rant and rave on, in this special edition of Firm, in regards to who's really going to be our U.S. Senator from this state. Janet Mills doesn't seem to know. That's why we put her on the lower rung here. Platner is the greatest threat to this state. Not a choice, although he is. Let's get to the bones of it all, shall we? Susan Collins has done more for this state than Graham Platner could even think of. Janet Mills is corrupt. She's full of fraud, overspending. First, $7 billion, $9 billion, 10, 12. When does it end, Janet? We got some more evil corruption from the Somalis or Chinese by any chance up your sleeve before you leave office in late December of 2026? When does it stop? When do Mainers have a chance to vote, which is June 9th, but also November of this year as well, to put an end to all of this rhetoric and nasty, violent attacks we have done nothing but help the American and Maine people. We the people. That's right. We at Firm, and also the Maine Wire, and also the Maine Policy Institute. We'll let him finish his rant and rave for a little while longer, folks, since it is our program. But bear in mind, Graham Platner is not the answer. He's just the tip of the iceberg of where the Democrats have really got to start learning a lesson. And it's not a good ending.
We have less. Fewer schools. Fewer hospitals. Our paychecks run out earlier in the month. And we have less time because everybody's working harder. There is no coincidence that in the time that has happened, we have seen the existence of people like Elon Musk occur.
Wrong.
The fact that Peter Thiel and Jeff Bezos exist is tied directly to the fact that I know someone in Sullivan who works 3 jobs and pays over 60% of her monthly income in rent alone. There is no metric of hard work that justifies the existence of billionaires when I know people who work 4 jobs who can barely hold it together. They work hard. People down here scraping it, that's hard work. Sitting on your wealth and using it to change the rules just so you can make...
No, Mr. Platner. Billionaires didn't become billionaires overnight. Hard work? Yeah? You're going to compare people along the coast of Maine who have families who go back generations. Generations, Platner. And so do billionaires. If there hadn't been a J.P. Morgan or a John D. Rockefeller, go back and look into the history books. Do some studying, you idiot. They put their knuckles and fists and feet and backbones into it to create railroads in this country, oil companies. Henry Ford created the automobile, whether you like it or not. Did he not work, even though he became probably one of the first billionaires, or maybe second or third? Point is, Platner, you don't get it, and you don't want to get it. You just want someone to blame and harp on people's emotions and feelings. Look us up, folks, on Firm, Fairness and Reporting Media at gmail.com. You'll see in our last couple of episodes all about lies, feelings, and emotions. That's the title. We'll let him continue a little bit further to keep sinking his ship. While we wait for that to queue up again, ladies and gentlemen, what we will do here is go back and get him to see if he can straighten things out here before he introduces his friends from California. Don't know. May happen, but it may not happen. But it could happen. We'll see. Let's see what happens, folks.
And she goes up into that place of power with a fundamental belief that the purpose of government is to provide good lives for all under its jurisdiction. She took that philosophy and she welded it to the political will and power that FDR had built, and they brought us Social Security. And it wasn't a block grant. It wasn't a tax credit. It wasn't some marginal amendment to existing legislation, they invented it out of whole cloth because they believed a society that could not take care of its elderly was no society at all. It was that political philosophy that built the programs that dragged this country out of the New Deal, or out of the Depression, and built the society that won the Second World War, defeating fascism on the international stage.
That was during the Roosevelt administration.
It was
FDR.
those New Deal programs that built the society of the 50s and 60s that, for all of its many, many faults, had the lowest margin of wealth inequality ever in the history of this country. Highest rates of union participation.
That's part of the
Highest
problem.
marginal tax rates.
That's part of the problem.
I'm sure there's no connection. My entire life I've been told by establishment politicians that dreaming big is a fantasy.
No, it's not.
It's romantic.
No, it's not.
And there's no reason to do it because it will never happen. And the best thing we can do
That's a lie.
is keep electing the same establishment politicians over and over and over again because they know how the system works. That's right.
That's a lie.
It's not working. And we know that it's a lie because American history shows us that not only can we dream big, but in moments of crisis, we must dream big.
And work hard at it.
This nation has faced several moments of mortal crisis for our democracy. 1770s, 1860s, 1930s and 40s, 1960s.
Oh.
In every one of these moments, the Americans that rose to the occasion to protect the project understood it was not enough to go back to what they had had. That to protect the freedom of the future, they needed a new definition of freedom. To protect the rights of their children, they must extend them new rights.
Oh.
We are in one of those
new
moments
rights.
of crisis now.
Okay.
And we are going to win.
Well, that's it, folks. We're taking just that amount of time from that speech, that entrance speech from Mr. Platner back on June 5th, and we will make sure that nothing else is going to air until we say it shall. Okay? Meantime, we have some other things to discuss, or to present to you, we should say, which will be brief in this extended version of FIRM, Fairness in Reporting Media, all about the candidates on June 9th and who should be our next United States Senator. It won't be decided fully until November of 2026, but we've got to get past June 9th and the primary. So at the present time, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and dive into a little bit more other things. We have here some statistics that we'd like to present to you on FIRM. And we will do this first as far as changing our little placards here and put that up for all of you to take advantage of our contact information, not just our website under Substack. We'll do that right now. You've always seen our car in and around Central Maine. Fairnessinreportingmedia at gmail.com. Fairnessinreportingmedia at gmail.com. Mark Merrill, as always, here. There's a little bit better view for everyone. Now, some additional information, folks, comes from our friends at the Maine Wire. This will be enlightening, and we will make sure it gets posted as well on this particular program. The Maine Wire has 11 people on their staff. That's it. And it swamps a 100-person Bangor Daily News with 7 times as many readers or circulation. This comes from the MainWire.com/2026/05-Maine Wire-11 person crew. The state's leading northern Maine paper's annual report shows an anemic following far behind the Maine Wire, despite an advantage in legacy and workforce size. That's the headline right there, folks. 11 people at the Maine Wire. One you can probably recognize, the tallest man in the middle there with glasses, Steve Robinson. Many others. This is a brief report, folks, but we'll get right down to it as we wrap up our program here on who will be the next United States Senator from Maine to replace Susan Collins or to continue with Susan Collins. Graham Pollard is Maine Wire's digital media editor, compared Bangor Daily News readership to the Wire. Pollard's source for Bangor's following comes from its so-called 2025-26 Impact Report, published by Bangor CEO and President Jennifer Holmes. Oh, a lady. This is the report they send to donors and potential donors to try to sell themselves as to why you should give the Bangor Daily News your hard-earned money, said Pollard. He quoted Holmes from the report. Over the past quarter century, we have reinvented ourselves from a 400-person daily print newspaper reaching 80,000 readers each week to a 100-person digital-first newsroom reaching more than 900,000 people each month across Maine and beyond. Oh, that's so impressive. That's so nice. It's easy to lie. Throw the trash in the sewer. I throw the truth in the sewer, as if it were trash, along with the river rats. Mr. Pollard, The Wire, said it's a pretty safe assumption this combines all their platforms, social media and their website and all. So what he's going to do is put up the Maine Wire's last 30 days just on Facebook. Viewer information is really what we're looking for here. The Maine Wire's monthly viewers on Facebook alone are 4.2 million people. Folks, got that one? 4.2 million. Maine Wire has 7 full-time employees, a total of 11, 4 part-time. In addition to Facebook, if you combine our Twitter, Instagram, X, TikTok, and website and newsletter, the Maine Wire is reaching 6.5 to 7 million people a month on average. What did the Bangor Daily News say? I don't think they reached 1 million, did they? No. Ms. Holmes, Bangor CEO and President Jennifer Holmes, on her report said over the past quarter century, they've reinvented themselves with a 400-person daily print newspaper reaching 80,000 readers each week and a 100-person digital-first newsroom reaching more than, hold on to your seats, here comes the truth, reaching more than 900,000 people each month across Maine and beyond. Crap. A 1/10 1/10 fraction, a 1/10 of the employees Bangor Daily News has, the Maine Wire is reaching 7 times that. Graham Pollard continues. There's more, folks. It's almost like if you report things the people are actually interested in and you don't shill for the Mills administration, people will actually pay attention to what you're doing, he concluded. Now, the Maine Wire editor-in-chief, Steve Robinson, as we mentioned, in a post titled RIP BDN, Rest in Peace Bangor Daily News, basically, You'd think that with $2.4 million in no-bid contracts from Janet Mills, get that? Side note, important here, folks. So everybody understands, including you between the ages of 18 and 22 getting out of college, this election year, and hear this well. Mr. Robinson said it's almost like if you report things that people are actually interested in and you don't shill for the Mills administration, people will actually pay attention to what you're doing. With the $2.4 million in no-bid contracts from Janet Mills by a sister company that takes all kinds of taxpayer money, that they, the Bangor Daily News, would be able to do something interesting, but they're only interested in lazy left-wing pap, he calls it. The no-bid contracts is what attracted me, folks. I used to work for an oil company at one time during the growing years of my children and my wife, working as a teacher. No bid means that she didn't give equal opportunities for companies in the state of Maine to bid for the highest contract. Janet Mills picked her own left-wing, Democrat-owned companies. Period. Yeah, I know you don't like my anger sometimes, but this is worth it. It's always worth it. The Bangor Daily News, founded in 1889, 135 years ago. Maine Wire was founded in 2011. Only 15 years old. Here's a monthly scorecard, folks, as we wrap this one up. The Maine Wire, 7 million. The Bangor Daily News, 900,000. That's circulation, folks. Bangor's pathetic showing against the Maine Wire ranks along with its soul sister to the south, the Portland Press Herald. So there. You're worried about the Southern newspaper, Southern Maine newspaper. Maine Wire has 176,000 Facebook followers compared to Portland's 93,000. And, there's just a little bit more. Even though the Maine Wire is trouncing the Bangor Daily News, Mr. Pollard says he's not even particularly happy with their numbers, and we can and will build on this. There, that's that, folks. And I'm Mark Merrill, founder, owner, firm, Fairness in Reporting Media, and fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com. Fairness in Reporting Media all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com. fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com. And we are on X, YouTube, and our website is right there. You see it. Substack.com at Mark Firm News 1. Stay with us, folks. We're yet to get to the finish line, but it should be an interesting one. And we hope it's all for the benefit of you, the Maine voters, the Maine young people getting out of college and going into the workforce, and that we can turn this state around and start being respected and not be denied what our potential is and used to be, and be proud again to be called vacation land without having to worry about the almighty dollar. For the love of money is the root of all evil. Scripture. Peace to all.